NWSA Certification Practice Test 2026 National Wireless Safety Alliance. All you need to know. Question 1. What is the cardinal rule of fall protection for telecommunication tower climbers as mandated by industry standards? Maintain 50% tie-off when resting. Maintain 100% tie-off at all times when working at heights. Climb without lanyards if the tower has a safety cage. Only use fall protection above 50 feet. Industry standards and OSHA require 100% tie-off at all times, meaning the climber must be attached to an anchorage point continually while ascending, descending, or working. Question 2. True or false? A positioning lanyard, often called a buck strap, is designed to arrest a fall if you slip while working on a tower. True. False. False. Positioning lanyards are meant to hold you in place to work hands-free. They are not shock-absorbing and are strictly prohibited from being used as a primary fall arrest system. Question 3. What is the maximum allowed free fall distance for a worker using a standard personal fall arrest system, PFAS? 2 feet, 4 feet, 6 feet, 10 feet. OSHA regulations state that a personal fall arrest system must be rigged such that an employee can neither free fall more than 6 feet nor contact any lower level. Question 4. When reviewing radio frequency, RF, safety, what are the two regulatory exposure limit tiers established by the FCC? General public/uncontrolled and occupational/controlled. Low frequency and high frequency. Daytime and nighttime limits. Indoor and outdoor limits. The FCC sets stricter limits for the general public, uncontrolled areas, because they are unaware of the hazard, and higher limits for occupational workers who are trained to manage their exposure. Question 5. True or false? A capstan hoist operator is allowed to assist the rigger with attaching the load while simultaneously running the hoist rope. True. False. False. The capstan hoist operator must remain completely focused on the hoist operation and is not permitted to perform secondary duties while the load is suspended. Question 6. What is the minimum industry accepted safety factor for rigging equipment used to lift personnel? 2 to 1, 5 to 1, 10 to 1, 20 to 1. When hoisting personnel, the entire lifting system and its components must have a minimum safety factor of 10:1 to ensure extreme reliability. Question 7. Which biological effect is the primary hazard associated with overexposure to high-power radio frequency, RF, radiation on a cell tower? Genetic mutation, thermal heating of body tissues, instantaneous cardiac arrest, heavy metal poisoning. High levels of RF energy are non-ionizing but can cause rapid thermal heating of tissues, similar to how a microwave oven works, which can lead to severe internal burns or eye damage. Question 8. True or false? A full-body harness and shock-absorbing lanyards must be inspected by a competent person at least once a year, in addition to daily user inspections. True. False. True. While the climber must inspect their gear daily before use, OSHA requires a documented inspection by a designated competent person at least annually. Question 9. According to OSHA, what defines a competent person on a tower construction site? The person with the most years of experience. An individual with a college degree in engineering. One capable of identifying existing and predictable hazards and who has authorization to take prompt corrective measures to eliminate them. The site owner or property manager. A competent person must have both the knowledge to recognize hazards and the explicit authority from the employer to stop work and fix them. Question 10. When setting up a portable extension ladder, what is the correct base-to-height ratio to ensure a safe climbing angle? 1:2, 1:3, 1:4, 1:5. The ladder should be placed at a 1:4 ratio, for every 4 feet of height to the support point. The base should be 1 foot away from the wall, which is roughly a 75-degree angle. Question 11. True or false, snap hooks and carabiners used for fall protection are required to be self-closing and auto-locking, with a minimum tensile strength of 5,000 pounds. True. False. True. To prevent accidental rollout, all connectors in a fall arrest system must automatically close and lock, and be rated for at least 5,000 pounds. Question 12. Before beginning work on a telecommunications site, the crew must complete a JSA or JA. What does this stand for? Job Security Audit, Job Safety Analysis/Job Hazard Analysis, Joint Strike Assessment, Jump Safety Authorization. A job safety analysis, or job hazard analysis, is a mandatory daily procedure used to identify site-specific hazards and outline mitigation strategies before work begins. Question 13. What is the minimum safe approach distance for an unqualified worker operating equipment near overhead power lines energized up to 50 kV? 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, 20 feet. OSHA requires a minimum clearance of 10 feet for power lines operating at 50 kV or below to prevent arcing and fatal electrocution. Question 14. True or false, if a tower climber is extremely fatigued after a long shift, it is permissible for them to ride the crane hook or material hoist line down to the ground. True. False. False. Riding a material hoist line or crane hook is strictly prohibited. Only properly certified personnel lifting devices, like a man basket, can be used to hoist or lower people. Question 15. When installing a safety climb cable system, which direction should the arrow on the cable grab mechanism point? Down, toward the ground, toward the climber's chest, up, toward the sky. It does not matter. The arrow on a cable grab must point up. If installed upside down, the cam mechanism will not lock onto the cable in the event of a fall. Question 16. What is the purpose of wearing a personal RF monitor while climbing? To boost the climber's cell phone signal, to communicate with the ground crew, to continuously measure RF exposure and sound a loud alarm if permissible limits are approached or exceeded, to shut down the tower transmitter automatically. Personal RF monitors measure the surrounding field strength and alert the climber via visual and audible alarms so they can retreat before dangerous exposure occurs. Question 17. True or false, synthetic rope used for rigging must be permanently removed from service if it shows signs of melting, glazing, or severe abrasion. True. False. True. Melting, glazing, caused by friction heat, and severe cuts destroy the tensile strength of synthetic rope, making it entirely unsafe for lifting loads. Question 18. In tower rigging, what is the primary purpose of using a block and tackle system? To ground the tower against lightning strikes. To create a mechanical advantage, allowing heavy loads to be lifted with less effort. To secure the climber's harness to the tower face. To measure the wind speed. A block and tackle utilizes multiple pulleys to multiply the pulling force, mechanical advantage, drastically reducing the effort required by the hoist operator. Question 19. If a climber is rescued and brought to the ground after hanging in their harness for 30 minutes, what serious medical condition must emergency responders be prepared to treat? Decompression sickness, suspension trauma, orthostatic intolerance, hypothermia, hypoglycemia. Suspension trauma occurs when blood pools in the legs due to the harness straps acting as tourniquets, which can cause fainting and potentially fatal heart failure if not treated properly. Question 20. True or false, the operator of the capstan hoist takes all verbal instructions and signals directly from the tower climber handling the load, ignoring the designated ground signal person. True. False. False. The hoist operator must take signals only from the one designated signal person to avoid confusion, though they must obey an emergency stop signal from anyone.